Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of TCG Talk, back today with another video. And in today's video, it's going to be a great one. Really fun and excited to make this video. As you can see probably by the title and by the thumbnail, I recently, today, as the time of recording this video, placed top 8 with Katsu at my local Proquest. It was a really fun event. So I just wanted to go through here and kind of talk about how the event went and then go over the deck. I made some slight alterations from the breakpoint like aggro list that anyone who's followed my channel is used to seeing. So kind of just give you all an idea, of how the games went and, what did I face? Like, what did I come into? Like, what problems and all that stuff. So first off, the event was really fun. It's Reaper Games over in Denton, Texas, just west of Dallas. If anyone's ever in the area, great store. One of like the first stores to latch onto the game in this area, in this region. Super nice people, like awesome. If you're ever in the area, definitely go there. They have tons of singles. When I say tons of singles, I mean like every legendary and majestic you can think of, foils, like thousands upon thousands of random rares and commons. Like, just super into the game, really high supporters. So Bill and his family are over there, really nice. They've been there forever, so definitely check them out. Went to the Proquest. It was a small Proquest, only about 25 people, 26. They've capped it at like 64 there before, but I think this time was just smaller. The Memorial Day weekend probably made it a little bit smaller, but you know what? It's all good. Regardless of how many people were there, it's super fun. It was really competitive. Like Brendan Patrick from Arsenal Pass was there. There's a couple of guys there that had placed top 8 on multiple Proquests. 2 guys I think had, including Brendan, had did won a Proquest. So even though it was a small group, it was like really hyper fixated from a talent perspective. And you saw a lot of different heroes, which I'll kind of get into. I ended up playing 5 rounds and then cutting the top 8. And I played 5 different heroes in my Swiss. So we'll kind of get into it. Just to kind of go over the baseline changes of the deck. So if anyone who's seen my breakpoint list before, it's still the same list as before, where, it's a lot of breakpoint for attacks with go again. And basically the whole point of this deck is to attack as many times as possible, go as wide as I can, and force my opponent to interact with me. With Katsu, pure damage doesn't work. You have to force your opponent to block. So cards like Torn Tempo and Soul Bead Strike, which some people don't run both of them, I did, because those cards are great late in the chain. Because if I've Kadachi, maybe then I head jabbed, then I Soul Bead Strike. Now at that point, I've dealt 5 damage and they've probably blocked something with one of my Kadachis. So now they got to block it again and not give it go again. Just a bunch of different little stuff, right? The changes I made from my previous list were I dropped 1 blue lunging press and went down to 1. And then I added on 1 yellow even bigger than that. I did that because I wanted to try to race chain. I was expecting a lot of chains. And maybe a couple of briars, and in those matchups, like, you don't block. The only time you block is like pop off turns, or you're preventing like a nasty like draw trigger, like with briar with her force of nature turns, maybe fuse where you're trying to prevent her from drawing a card, or with Shane, if he has a nasty on him of some sort. So like a shadow puppetry or something like that. So overall, that's why I did that, because I'm not blocking too much, but I want to be able to try to give a lot of my cards go again, give stuff like Snatch go again and Light and Strike go again with the draw card feature. Even cards like Magenshi and like cards that normally aren't go again oriented can give them go again. So that's why I did that. And Torn Tempo is a really good card to give go again as well. So that was the small, minute change that I made. Other than that, and then for the 80th card, I added in Salt the Wound. So I'm technically running a 61 card core. I didn't know what to put as my 80th card, and I love Salt the Wound. Anyone who's followed my channel knows that I enjoy the card, so I went ahead and put it on as my 80th card. So that was the baseline of it. For the matchups, as I open up my notebook here, so I can 100% kind of tell you what happened. First round, I played a Viserai. The Viserai was like, and it was an aggro vis. He was running like Mob Skies and stuff, like full suite of Mob Skies, but he also was running like the Slogism build. I was assuming Arcanine Ascendancy. I didn't see one yet, but once I saw Slogism, I knew he probably was running the Arcanine Ascendancy build with some Mob Skies. Overall, Vis definitely lost a lot of power, not having Scalata and not being able to have that interaction. But his aggro build's still good, and he definitely can do a lot of damage. For us, we were pretty neck and neck. I went down. I took 7, or we were at 38-36, 27-33, 25-28. 2025. And then it was 15 to 22. He was in the lead, I believe. No, it was 20. Yeah, it was 20 to 25. He was in the lead. And then I had two really big pop off turns. And I made it 25 to 3, which was pretty nuts. He took some pretty insane damage. I think the score was like 25 to like 15 or something like that. Like I was up and he blocked a little bit, but then took a lot of damage, went all the way down to 3, which the only problem with that Viserai build is it's so resource intensive. You cannot block at all. Like you can't block, especially if you have Slogism in your hand. He actually pummeled me as well. He had pummels in his deck. So very good deck from like a on hit and a damage perspective, but also a very costly deck. And once I saw the pummel early in the game, I hadn't seen Slogism yet at this point, but I knew he was running some type of like high resource type Viserai, kind of like the old school version. So yeah, it was 20 to 3. And then he hit me with like a Slogism into a Room Flash, and pummeled it or something like that. And basically he got me all the way down to 5, even with me blocking. So it was 5 to 3. And at that point I kind of Kadachi locked him a little bit. I kind of drew a little bit better when we both drew up, and ended up pulling that out 5-0. But it was a close game. I only ran Null Rune 1 there. I didn't worry about, I just wanted to be able to, I didn't know what he was beforehand. So I was like, if he's running like the full Mob Skies build with like meet and greets, maybe I can try to block out meet and greets. Some people say not to run Null Rune against Viserai. I think you need to run at least one, because if you don't, it kind of changes what he's allowed to do, because he basically can, if he has a rune chant and he plays meet and greet, it's going to get automatic go again. So you want to be able to at least try to stop that stuff. But won it. It was a good guy. He ended up getting top 8. So he made up for it in the rest of his rounds. Round two is whatever, man. It was a Bolton. I was beating him 30 to 19 in life. And he triple Lumina'd me. So he Lumina Ascension 3 times, and he Beacon of Victory twice in the same turn. So his sabers, I don't remember, his sabers were going for like 7 damage a swing, and he had like 5 or 6 swings or something like that. And he was drawing a card, right? So yeah. So, and he popped Courage, obviously, or whatever. And so, yeah, he dealt like 35, 40 damage on that turn, and just went up. Like I was 30-19. I was in super big control. He had a double Lumina already, and he drew into another Lumina and then drew into a Beacon of Victory. So literally drew the best possible turn you can possibly do with Bolton. Very good player. Like he did a couple of times that game. Like, but that's how it works. That's how this game goes. Like he played it well. I blocked out pretty well early game, to prevent him from charging his soul, but he soul shielded me 3 times, which got him 3 souls automatically, and then he got like 1 or 2 eked more out. So by the time his Luminous came up, he had like 5 or 6 in soul. So really good for him. So overall, lost that. I was 1-1. Then we played Starvo. So I have not played Starvo since the Awakening ban. I always said, if anyone's been following the channel, that Awakening was like the key card that prevented Starvo from being challenged by a lot of the aggro decks. And so I knew that I didn't know if he was like a fatigue Starvo, like with a lot of defense reactions, or if he was just playing high roller. He was playing high roller, and he didn't have Awakening. So for us, like it was just a straight race. Like he hit me for 8 turn 1, or not turn 1, but turn 2, and I took it to the face. I chipped him down to like took 6, then I took 6, then he took 5, and we were just going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. It was 20 to 25. He was winning. And then I hit a couple pop off turns where I did like 20 damage a turn for 2 turns in a row. And he just had to dump his whole hand to even have a chance at blocking me out. And there was one key turn, I think it was 16 to like 11. And I hit like an 18 damage turn where he had an Oakenhold in hand, not an Arsenal, and he had to block out. Like if he didn't block out, I was going to get go again and mass draw, and I was going to be able to attack again. So like I would have had him at like 3, and all he would have had left in hand was an Oakenhold. So he had to block with Oakenhold, and that was the kind of the key play. He didn't see Oakenhold for like the first 3 turns, which really allowed me to get some tempo. So overall beat him 6 life to nothing, but really good player, really, really nice guy. Really fun to play with, really enjoyed it. But that Starvo matchup is definitely a lot easier. Still not easy by any means, but it's definitely winnable now without Awakening, because you can kind of just race them down, and hopefully they don't high roll you at the beginning of the game. Then I played a Lightning Lexi, or not Lightning, sorry, Ice Lexi. And it was the Art of War Rain Razors Ice Lexi, right? With the Chilling Ice Veins. He had, Bolton shots in there, Pathian Helix, basically the Yuki list for the most part. Maybe a couple adaptations I didn't know about, but for the most part, it looked like the Yuki list. Really good game. Both of us were kind of chipping back and forth. He doesn't like to block, so I had him at 36 to 30. Yeah, 30. Well, 30. It was like 36-31, and then he took a lot of damage one turn. It was like 36-23, but then he hit me with like a Rain Razor 3 of a kind turn, and he hit me like 3 times for like 6 apiece. So he did like an 18 to 21 damage turn, which put me down to like 24 with blocking. And then from there, we were just going back and forth, back and forth. And we eventually got down to where I was at 2 health and he was at 1 health. And like the turns leading up to that, where we both were like less than 3 health, like I was just trying like heck to not let him have more than a 3-card hand. Like I was trying to apply enough of pressure to where he only had like a 2-card hand, so I could like telegraph if it was gonna be a Rain Razors. I checked his deck, not his deck, but his graveyard, like when I was at 2 health, and he still had 1 Rain Razors he hadn't played. He had played all his 3 of a kinds. He had played 2 Art of Wars, or 1 Art of War, and he had played 2 Rain Razors. And so I was like, okay, well, if it's 1 rate, so I had to overblock by 2 pretty much on most of his attacks because I was at 2 health and I didn't want to instant speed kill me with Rain Razors. So that made it a little bit awkward. But luckily, I was able to apply enough pressure where he couldn't like arsenal good cards. And I did a good job at like blocking out some reloads on Bolton shot and blocking out like Pathian Helixes in order to basically make him pitch. When you play Ice Lexi, at least the version of Ice Lexi that's out right now, you need to be able to block key cards that, so like the way Ice Lexi is like she's kind of resource intensive a little bit. Even with the 0 cost arrows, it costs 1 to load it and then they shoot it. So if he shoots like a Pathian Helix, right, with no cards in Arsenal, if you don't block that out, he's going to be able to put a card down in Arsenal and then shoot it again if he had go again for free, most likely, because it's like a Bolton shot. Or any other 0 cost, like a Syrian shot. But if you block it, now he's forced to pitch 1 away to go, to load it and then pitch again, right? Possibly to fire it. So you force them to have to use the resource a little bit more. So that's what I was trying to do. I was trying to block when I could. I put in Flick Flacks to, try to mitigate some damage on like really wide turns. But yeah, ended up doing that. And ended up, at the very end, he used 2 Art of Wars in 3 turns at instant speed on his defensive turn to give +1 to his defense and then draw 2. And what that was allowing him to do was fully block out one of my attacks while also drawing into 2 cards and having 2 cards for his turn. So he was playing really, really well. Super close game. But I eventually locked it out by applying enough of pressure to be able to basically make him have to draw up and then win. Ended up winning that 2 life to 0. Really quickly, just for people to understand, for Viserai, all I did was sub in Command and Conquers. I took out 1 Blackout Kick and 1 Salt the Wound and 2 Command and Conquers. What that does is I can challenge his arsenal because Viserai really likes 5-card hands. And then I put in 3 Sink Belows, and I just sided those in. I took out 1 even bigger than that. 1 Ancestral, and then I think that's it. I think I left in 2 even bigger than that. So I had technically a 61 card deck. I put in the Sink Blows because a lot of Viserai's attacks, at least before I thought he was just going to be running aggro, are 4 breakpoints. So if you can just block with 1 card and you completely block it out off like a Mauve Skies, like if they Mauve Skies into Meet and Greet, and then it's for 4 on hit, create a rune chant. Instead of having to block with like a card and breaking skills, you can just block with a Sink Below, right? So it's really nice for that. So that's why I sided in those 5 cards for that. Oh, and I sided in Crane Dance. Obviously, I just hedged that in for obvious reasons. For the Bolton, I sided in Command and Conquers because I know he's going to want to, when he gets Lumina, he's just going to put it in his arsenal and try to keep it there until he's going to use it. So I wanted to put the Command and Conquers in there to try to challenge that. So I just hedged those in. Or I didn't hedge those in. I took out Blackout Kick and Salt the Wound again. Basically, when I put my Command Conquers in, 9 times out of 10, I'm taking out my Blackout Kick and my Salt the Wound. They're just the easiest cards to take out. Round 3 against Starvo, I didn't touch anything. I hedged in the 2 Command and Conquers, and I ran a 63 card deck. So I just went to the face, like if he beats me, he beats me type thing. And that's what I did for that. And then just want to give y'all sideboard. And then for round 4 against Lexi, obviously the Command Conquers went in, took out Blackout Kick and Salt the Wound. And then I put in Flick Flocks just in case because, and I took out like one even bigger than that, one Ancestral, and that was it. So I ran one more card that wasn't an attack. Because my thought process was I Arsenal one of them. And if he has like a Rain Razor Art of War turn, at least maybe I can block for 4 and then block for 5, right? And actually get some good value. So that's why I decided to do that. So round 5, after round 4, I'm 2-1 I'm 3-1 at this point. Going into the last round, if I win, I'm in 100%. And then if I lose, it goes to tiebreakers. And I played a Dorinthea, and this one caught me super off guard. This is one of those, like, if I would have known. So, like, it was a small PQ. I should have, as bad as it sounds, I should have walked around, just observed the tables, and really saw, like, who was playing what. And I noticed that Dorinthea was playing Dawnblade when I walked around the tables. But what this Dorinthea did was, and I've never seen Dorinthea do this, he had Dawnblade and Hatchets. He had Hatchets in his sideboard. And he basically had constructed a Dorinthea deck to where he could side in Hatchets and then also side in a Hatchet like package. So he had Blade Runners. He said he didn't show me his whole list, but he ran 8 Blade Runners. And then he had those were in his sideboard, and he had Slice and Dice in his main board. And he had a couple other like onesie twosie cards. And basically what he would do is he would side out like Twin Blade and his Slice and Dices and add in his Blade Runners. And then he would like 1 or 2 cards. But basically he ran Hatchets against like super like mid-range, what he would consider mid-range, or other decks where he just want to be more efficient. And then he ran Dawnblade against like Chain. So he ran Hatchets against me, and I sided for Dawnblade. So because of that, I sided in 2 Command and Conquers for a Blackout Kick and Assault Wound. And then I sided in 3 Flick Flacks for, and I took out 2, 1 even bigger than that, and 1 Ancestral like I normally do. And so I kept it in 2 even bigger than that. Well, the crappy part is, since he showed Hatchets, he has Valiant Dynamo. And he has like really good cards. So it made it really hard for me to block efficiently on some of his cards by even bigger than that. And he was blocking so efficiently too. And B, like, I didn't always get my even bigger than that's off because of his Valiant Dynamo and then his other blocks. So overall, he ended up beating me 4-0. It was just a grindy game. We both went down back and forth. If I would have sided correctly and like kept it even bigger, taking all the even bigger than that's out, I think I would have been fine. And I didn't make the plays I needed to make that game. I could have won it, but at the end of the day, I think he was just a really good Dory player, like super solid Dory player. So nothing I could do about that. So yeah, into the Swiss 3-2. But because of where I lost, like coming down to like when I lost like round 2 in the last round, I was at the top table the last round. So I knew like I had a really good chance of getting top 8. There was one undefeated Briar who went 5-0, and then Brendan went 4-1, and then 2 other guys went 4-1. So we had 3 4-1s and 1 5-0. So there was only 4 slots left for the 3-2s. There was 4 4-1s and 1 5-0. So we only had 3 slots left for the 3-2s. So I knew I had a good chance, but there's also a chance I was either literally going to be 9th or 8th. I knew that for a fact. Ended up getting 8th, got lucky, and cut the top 8, and they did deck checks and stuff. And then finally we ended up I played Briar, the number 1 seed. I actually felt really good. Even though the Briar was undefeated, I was like, I can play against this Briar. I can race her and play really good. I felt I did really good. I blocked out when I needed to. I was forced to block. There was 2 key points in the game. There was one key point where it was 27-24. I was winning. And I had a little bit of tempo. And he basically played Overload. He played a Force of Nature fused. Yeah, Force of Nature fused, I think. Yeah, Force of Nature fused, sorry. I had already used my Breaking Scales block at this point. I didn't have a D-React. He played Force of Nature fused into an Overload. So he had 4 Dominate go again, on hit, draw a card from Force of Nature. And he still had a card in hand. And I was like, okay, I'm up 4 life here. I can block with Mask and then still have a 3-card hand and arsenal and prevent him from basically getting go again or getting or he already had go again, but forced him to not draw. So he only that's what it was. I'm sorry, he only had 1 card in hand. He had go again with 4 dominate overload. If I block it out, the only thing he can do is Rosetta for 2 and 2. If I don't block it out, he possibly can draw a card, attack again, then Rosetta for 2 and 2. And I didn't want him to do that. Also, I didn't know if he'd draw into something crazy and be able to again proc Force of Nature. So I blocked with Mask because I didn't have a defense reaction in hand or an arsenal. I had already used my breaking skills counter for defense. So it sucked because he was at 23 life and I was at 27, but at the same time I stopped his turn. He resetted and we were pretty much even, or it was 31 to 23. He resetted and it put us at 27-23, and now I have a 3-card hand with an arsenal up 4 life and can really keep putting pressure. Going back on it, like, was that the right play? I don't know, but if he would have done it, then if he would have drew, then he would have kept giving gas and I would have been screwed anyway. So, but getting rid of Mask, he no longer had to respect my Kodachis, which was giving me pressure in the first place because he was forced to block. So looking back on it, it's not one of those things where I wish I wouldn't have blocked with Mask, but it's definitely one of those things where I wish I wouldn't have just to see what happened, right? The other key point in the game was he did it. So I had complete control. I was winning 19-6, and he got back-to-back Force of Nature fuse turns. And one of those, he had Force of Nature into a Bramble Spark. So he Force of Nature fuse, Bramble Spark fuse. So he's at +4 at this point. Then he played Pulse of Candle Hold. Went and got his Force of Nature back, put it on top. So he's at +4 there, and then so that turn played out and I blocked out decently so he couldn't draw a lot. But then he played another Force of Nature fuse and then he played a channel. So he went Force of Nature 1 turn, Force of Nature another turn with Bramble Spark, and then Channel Mount Heroic. But that's how Briar goes. And once he did that, I just couldn't keep up. Ended up losing 3 life to 0. I was winning 19-6 and I felt really confident. I felt like I was in a good spot. But honestly, breaking Mask really changed the way he was allowed to play. But at the same time, we talked about afterwards, and like it's one of those like damned if you do, damned if you don't type plays. So if I wouldn't have blocked the Mask, who knows what would have happened. But overall, I was happy with it. I ended up getting we made obviously a little bit of cash from getting top 8. And then I ended up getting winning the tunic sleeves as well. So y'all can see those. Super nice. Yep, super nice. Got a full box of those as well as winning some cash and got top 8 with Katsu. Super happy about it. Small Proquest I get, but for me, like even winning games against Starvo, winning games against Ice Lexi, like 2 decks that typically beat Katsu, and then going toe to toe with Briar. Like my losses, like the Bolton game, like legit, just he drew God turn. I can't get mad about that. But beat Viserai, beat Lexi, and beat Starvo. So super happy about the deck. I think the deck's in a good spot. I think with Starvo and Chain eventually is about to be gone. I think Katsu's going to be in a decent spot. We'll see how the new heroes go, but just with what the meta looks like now, with those 2 heroes gone, I think he's going to be in a good spot. So overall, really fun. Really enjoyed the event. It's probably going to be the only Proquest I get to go to because I got lucky and got off work this week. But yeah, let me know what you think of the deck. Let me know if you think I should have made any changes. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah, hopefully y'all enjoyed this. I'll keep grinding out the Katsu content, grind out the Ninja content. Can't wait for Uprising. Should be a lot of fun. Let me know what you think of the content, what you want to see more of. And yeah, hopefully y'all have a good rest of your day, and I'll see y'all next time on TCG Talk. Thank y'all so much.